Hey guys, so depending when you're watching this, Prepatch is either just around the corner or it already just came out, and it is time for another updated guide for Prepatch. So just to clarify, this is not a what changed video, that I have plenty of other videos about that, and this is not a guide for level 120 BFA, this is for the 1 month period of BFA content at 110 before BFA actually comes out. So that's just to clear all the confusion that might be coming up. But this is going to be a pre-patch guide for Elemental Shamans in the very end of Legion here, the beginning of BFA, so stay tuned if that's what you're looking for. So as always, this is based on stormwithandlava.com, so if you want to check that out, there's a link in the description for the written version of everything in this and more. But moving on to this, the single target talents that we're going to be looking at, according to Sims by the way, is this setup right here. We got the exposed elements, totem mastery, whatever you want here, high voltage, whatever you want here, primal elementalist, and unlimited power. There's a lot of lightning bolt damage in this build with exposed elements and high voltage, and you feed into your unlimited power, getting lots more haste. So it is a pretty good single target build. If the fight is very short, like under 60 seconds short, Storm Elemental can be good, or if there's really big burst AoE that lasts long enough for your Eye of the Storm to pop off, you can also go Storm Melee for that. An AoE or Mythic Plus build you could look out for is pretty much the same as this, except for you're also going to want Liquid Magma Totem. You can potentially use Aftershock or Totem Mastery. You can use Static Charge if you want to lower cooldown, or you can use Spirit Wolf if you want to survive more. And then Stormkeeper is also a good option for AoE. If you want more single target, you can stick with unlimited power though. If you're watching this a little closer to BFA launch and want a more leveling oriented build, you can go with something like Echo of the Elements, Master of the Elements, perhaps Aftershock if you want some more burst, but Master of the Elements is a nice consistent damage option. You can go Earth Shield for some healing, so you don't have to heal yourself. You can go High Voltage for basic damage. You can go Storm Melee for big pulls, Liquid Magma Totem for occasional burst. Whatever you want here, but probably Nature's Guardian. Primal Elementalist is decent for burst, so like mini bosses or whatever, and then Earth and Rage is probably the best overall. And then my personal favorite is Stormkeeper, because you can use this every 1 minute and just pull big, or you can go with unlimited power for more consistent stuff, but the buff might not last very long after you do an initial pull. So now let's take a look at the bread and butter of the class, the priority list. This was previously referred to as a rotation, but we kind of came to the conclusion together that it isn't really a rotation anymore. It's more of a list of actions that you're doing in a particular priority. So we're calling it a priority list from now on, just to avoid confusion. But the actual list here is, number one, you want to keep Totem Mastery up at all times. It's going to fall off if you're going to run out of range of it, so you want to use it now. If you're going to enter Ascendance soon, and your Totem Mastery has less than like 15 seconds left, or maybe like 17 seconds, you want to use it before you enter Ascendance. Then same thing for Flame Shock, you always want to have it up. If there's more than one target, you want to keep it up on all of the targets, up to 3. If you're about to enter Ascendance, you will want to use it then to make sure you have it for the next 15 seconds as well. Potentially even more, because you have another Lava Burst free after the Ascendance, so probably more like 17 seconds. This may require some use of Pandemic, maybe, but that's something you have to figure out. Then you want to be casting all of your elementals, your Fire or Storm Elemental, and Earth Elemental is actually worth using for DPS now, so that is something that is worth mentioning. It does do enough damage to be worth it. You may want to be careful when you use it though, because it does taunt things. It doesn't taunt raid bosses, but it does taunt like ads and stuff in a raid and may mess up positioning, so definitely be careful with that. And it's also worth mentioning while we're here that if you have Primal Elementalist, you cannot have Fire and Storm Melee and Earth Elemental out at the same time. It will just, if you use the ability while the other one's already out, it'll just put it on cooldown and nothing will actually happen. So be very careful about that. You don't want to waste any abilities. Next, you want to use Ascendance as long as you have a Flame Shock up. And then here, if you're using Master of the Elements, you will want to use Earthshock with Master of the Elements. This may apply with Tier 21 as well. And then Exposed Elements, you got to make sure you don't Earthshock with that already on the boss or on the enemy. You will want to use the Lightning Bolt first. Then if you're talented in Elemental Blast, you will use that here, but not in Ascendance. If you're in Ascendance, you will want to use Lava Burst instead. And then Stormkeeper if you have that, Liquid Magma Totem if you have that. And then here is the Earthshock line, just to make sure you don't overcap. You want to use it at 92 or higher, of course. And then Lava Burst, just using Lava Burst basic. Ice Fury if you're spec'd into that. Frost Shock with the Ice Fury buff if you're spec'd into Ice Fury. Earth Shock just as a kind of a filler spell if you don't have any Lava Bursts available. Instead of using a Lightning Bolt, you can just use Earth Shock if you have it up. Totem Mastery, you want to refresh this if you have like less than 10 seconds remaining and you don't have anything else to cast. You want to refresh it just to make it so you don't have to refresh it and lose an ability that you use later because of it. And then just your filler spells, you got your Chain Lightning on more than one target, and you got your Lightning Bolt as a single target filler. And if you have to move and you cannot use a Lava Surge proc or an Earth Shock, you want to use a Frost Shock. Even if you don't have Ice Fury, it's still actually worth using now that it no longer costs Maelstrom. Now for AoE, 3 or more targets. Once again, you want to keep Totem Mastery up at all times. You want to use your Elementals. You want to use Stormkeeper and Liquid Magma Totem on cooldown. And you will want to maintain Flame Shock on all the targets as long as there are only 3 targets. If you get more than 3 targets, you will no longer want to use Flame Shock. You want to cast Earthquake whenever you have it available, as long as the mobs aren't about to run away or something. You will want to use Lava Burst to consume Lava Surge procs, but again, that's only for 2 and 3 targets, because you won't have any Lava Surge procs otherwise. You want to use Elemental Blast if there are 3 targets, or less. If there's more than 3 targets, you no longer use Elemental Blast, and you want to use Chain Lightning. So if there's more than 3 targets, you're just keeping Totem Mastery down, you're using your cooldowns, you're using Earthquake, and you're using Chain Lightning. If there are exactly 3 targets, you want to multi-dot everything with Flame Shock. You want to use Lava Surge procs, but not actually Lava Burst casts, just Surge procs. And you want to use Elemental Blast if you're talented into that. Now for openers, this little note, openers are pretty overstated in how much they actually matter, but sometimes people can get a little confused with all the cooldowns being up at once, so we made a little graphic here for you to take a look at. The standard raid opener, if you're not using Ascendance and you are using Primal Elementalist, this is what it's going to look like. You want to have your Totem Master down before the pull, your Fire Elemental down before the pull, and you want to precast a Lightning Bolt before you actually pull the boss. You want it in the air as you pull the boss. One of the big reasons for precasting is it does really help with your RPPM. It procs a lot of your trinkets on that precast. And then you want to apply Flame Shock, Lava Burst, and then continue with the normal rotation. If you are using no Primal Elementalist, you want to do the same thing, except you also want to use Earth Elemental. If you're using Ascendance and Echo, you will do your 2 Lava Bursts, and then you go into Ascendance and continue on. Be careful, you may need to refresh your Flame Shock before going into Ascendance. This may require like a Lightning Bolt or something. But as long as you have enough Flame Shock for the full Ascendance, this is going to be the opener. And then with Primal Elementalist, you do the same thing, just without Earth Elemental. Next up, we got stats. So, if you're new to Elemental, you probably don't know what stat ratios are. Stat ratios are essentially a distribution of stats, or secondary stats that you want to try to maintain. It is not like a stat weight. You can't put it in Pawn, and you aren't going to get it from basic simming. You'll have to run like bloody stats to get it. You can just do basic simming for an item by item thing. That's a little more accurate than stat ratios could be. But ratios are a very good long-term gearing strategy. So our ratios we have right now is for a single target set, you will want 1 crit, 0.4 haste, 0.4 mastery, and 0.2 verse. So what this means with actual numbers is, for example, if you have 100 crits, you want to have 40 haste, 40 mastery, and 20 versatility to go along with that 100 crit. So if you have 200 crit, it'll be 80, 80, and 40. It just kind of scales proportionally like that. You try to maintain that distribution. Now, for the AoE sets, it's 1 crit, 0.3 haste, 0.1 mastery, and 0.1 verse. So you'll see a trend here. We definitely want a lot of crit in pre-patch. So if you have some crit gear, definitely put that on. If it's an eye level downgrade to put the crit gear on, make sure you sim it just to be sure. The ratios do not include intellect because it scales to... You can't just put it into a ratio like that, so you will have to check that on your own if it is an eye level downgrade. But if it's an eye level equal or eye level upgrade, do your best to maintain this ratio. And just to quickly look at enchants for anyone wondering, Mark of the Hidden Satyr is technically the best for single target, but if you're doing things like Mythic Plus or fights with AoE, you may want to consider Mark of the Claw because it's very, very close in damage on single targets and will definitely be better for AoE. So consider using Mark of the Claw for an all-around use. If you have a different neck for your AoE set and your single target set, you can put Mark of the Hidden Satyr on the single target set and Claw on the AoE one, just as a thought. And then for ring enchants, just sim whatever is highest, or you can follow the ratio. And same thing with gems for that. You will want 1 intellect gem now. Previous to this patch, intellect was bad enough compared to primary stats that you didn't actually want an intellect gem, but now in pre-patch you do want an intellect gem. So for legendaries, the best combination we've found is the boots and the shoulders. With the way Earthquake now seems to function with a little bit less Earthquake cast, but more damage, the shoulders are doing very well. And you actually do not want to use Aftershock with this, surprisingly. Totem Mastery is still better, as far as we can tell. And then other options are things like Eye of the Twisting Nether is pretty good, and Sephu's Secret is very good if you can proc it. So if you can proc Sephu's Secret, that's probably your best option as well. But those are the two options. Also, gloves are still pretty good, but I would definitely prefer to use shoulders, because I just don't like the gloves. But those are some legendary combinations you can try to play with. If you're going for leveling, you should probably use Sephu's and then maybe the crafted gloves, because you can move a lot faster with that. Alright guys, that is it for the pre-patch guide. If you liked the video, make sure you like it, and subscribe if you want to see more. Hopefully I'll see you guys in BFA. I'll be making guides for that too. So, hopefully you enjoyed. I'll see you guys next time.